The whole thing is run on a point system, a sick, twisted game of social credit that decides who lives and who gets shredded to pieces on Christmas Eve. I thought I was safe. I had a high score. I was a good kid in a good town. But one lie, a single calculated lie from the boy who has everything, and it was all gone. Now, my name is at the very top of the ledger, glowing in festive blood-red letters. They call the demon Santa Claus. It's a stupid, childish name for the ancient thing that holds Havenwood Falls in its grip. But I promise you, when you hear that scratching at your window on the coldest night of the year, you don't laugh. You just pray it isn't for you. This year, it is. For 11 years and 11 months, life in Havenwood Falls is picturesque. Seriously, we're a postcard town, nestled in a valley so deep the winter sun barely kisses the rooftops. We've got a town square with a gazebo, a bakery that starts pumping the smell of gingerbread into the air on November 1st, and a Christmas tree lighting ceremony that people drive in from 2 counties over to see. We have community, we have tradition, and we have the ledger. You learn about the point system the same way you learn about gravity. It's just a fundamental law of our universe. From the moment you can walk and talk, you get it. Your actions are being tracked. Every good deed, every time you volunteer for a charity drive, you earn points. They're added to your personal tally on the ledger, which is a live, public record managed by the keeper. Our keeper is a woman named Ilara, a stony-faced elder who inherited the role, just like her mother before her. She carries a tablet now, a modern upgrade from the old leather-bound books. But its job is the same. It displays the name of every resident under 19 and their score. A high score is your shield. It marks you as a valuable member of the community, a pillar, as the mayor loves to say. It means you're safe. A low score, well, nobody wants a low score. It brings shame, suspicion. It puts you closer to the bottom, closer to the threshold. Every 12 years, on the night of the winter solstice, which, for us, always falls on Christmas Eve, the cycle comes to a head. The person with the lowest score becomes the offering. It's how we appease the entity our founders made a pact with centuries ago, Nysaurius, or as the grim local humour calls it, Santa Claus. We don't talk about it directly. It's all euphemisms and hushed tones. The Great Renewal, the Winter Tithe, the person is said to be chosen for the solitude. But we all know what it means. We've seen the historical records. We've seen the names carved into the stone altar at the edge of the woods, one for every 12 years, going all the way back to the town's founding. The story goes that Nysaurius protects us, gives us prosperity, keeps us safe from the famines and floods that have ravaged other parts of the world. All it asks for is one of us, the least worthy among us. I always felt safe. My name is Alex. Until a week ago, I was a model citizen. My score was a comfortable 185. I volunteered at the animal shelter, helped string the Christmas lights, and was even leading the school's canned food drive. I was near the top of the ledger, untouchable. The person at the bottom was a kid named Sam, a quiet guy who kept to himself and had a score of 42. I felt bad for him, but that was the system. That was the price for our perfect, gingerbread-scented lives. The architect of my downfall is Gavin, the mayor's son. He's got that easy, cruel confidence that only comes from knowing you'll never really face consequences. He walks through life like it's a party thrown just for him. While I was earning my points, he was losing them. Totally secure that his dad's position made him exempt from the rules. Vandalism, cheating, bullying, his score would dip. But then a generous, anonymous donation to the town beautification fund would pop up, and his points would magically get adjusted. They called it mayoral discretion. Last Tuesday he cornered me behind the bleachers, a smirk on his face. "Alex," he said, his voice slick, "you and I are going on an adventure." He wanted to explore the old paper mill at the edge of town, the one place that's strictly forbidden. It was abandoned decades ago, but more importantly, it's where the original pact was made. Where the first offering happened before they moved the ceremony to the town square. It's considered desecrated ground. I said no, obviously. Going there is an automatic 50-point deduction. No way was I risking it. But Gavin had an ace up his sleeve. He knew my younger sister Maya had been struggling with anxiety and had secretly bought some weed from a kid in the next town over. It was a stupid, one-time mistake, but in Havenwood Falls, possession is a 70-point deduction. Enough to cripple her score. Enough to put her in danger. "Either you come with me to the mill," Gavin said, showing me a photo on his phone of the transaction, "or this picture goes straight to Keeper Alara. Your choice." My blood ran cold. I was trapped. I thought about the clause of truth, the rule that's supposed to protect against false accusations. But this wasn't false. It was blackmail. I agreed, just telling myself I'd be in and out. No one would ever know. Of course, we were caught. We weren't inside for more than 5 minutes when the town's 2-man police force showed up. They must have been tipped off. They took our names, and I felt my stomach just drop. A 50-point deduction. It would hurt, but it wouldn't be catastrophic. I'd go from 185 to 135, still safe. But that's not what happened. The next morning, my hands shaking, I checked the ledger online. My score wasn't 135. It was 20. My heart hammered in my ears as I scrolled down. Sam, the boy who'd been at the bottom, was still at 42. And below him, in the very last spot, was me. I frantically checked the log of recent changes. It read, Alex, last name, minus 50 points, trespassing on consecrated ground, minus 115 points, malicious vandalism and desecration of a historic site. Vandalism. Desecration. We didn't do anything. We just walked inside. Then I saw the entry for Gavin. Gavin, last name, plus 25 points. For alerting the authorities to a potential act of desecration and attempting to intervene. He didn't just frame me. He made himself a hero. He set the whole thing up. The anonymous tip, the timing, all of it. He used me to boost his own score and make his father look like a protector of our traditions. Right before the renewal, I was just a stepping stone. A convenient sacrifice to make the mayor's family look good. The change was immediate. It was like a switch flipped, and the entire world I knew changed colour. The walk to school that morning was the longest of my life. Kids I'd known since kindergarten, kids I'd shared secrets with, just averted their eyes. Some whispered as I passed, their faces a horrifying mix of pity and morbid curiosity. They were looking at a ghost. My best friend Liam saw me coming down the hall. For just a second, I thought he'd be the one person to believe me. He looked at me, his face pale, and then he just turned and walked into the nearest classroom without saying a word. That hurt more than anything. The silence. The immediate, total severing of every connection. It's an unspoken rule of the system. You don't associate with the bottom of the ledger, not this close to the solstice. It's like you're contagious, like your bad luck, your low score might rub off. At home, the silence was even worse. It felt heavier than screaming. My mum was at the kitchen table, her hands wrapped around a cold cup of tea. She wouldn't look at me. My dad just stood by the window, staring out at the snow. "It's a lie," I said, my voice cracking. "Gavin framed me. He blackmailed me. You have to believe me." My mother finally looked up, her eyes filled with this terrible, soul-crushing sadness. "Alex, the ledger is absolute," she whispered. "The keeper has processed it. The mayor, he signed off on the point allocation himself. Because he's his father, he's protecting him," I yelled, desperation clawing at my throat. "There's a clause of truth. We can challenge it." "To challenge the mayor's son, you'd need proof," my dad said, his voice flat, defeated. "Irrefutable proof. A recording, a confession. It's your word against the son of the most powerful man in town, a boy with a score of 150 against a 20. He couldn't even say it without flinching. I saw the truth in their eyes. They believed me, or at least a part of them wanted to. But they were also terrified, challenging the system, challenging the mayor. It was unthinkable. It would bring scrutiny on our whole family. It could endanger Maya. And worst of all, it wouldn't work. The system is designed to protect itself, to protect the powerful. My parents had already made a choice. They had chosen to survive. They had chosen to let their own kid be the sacrifice. That night, for the first time in my life, my mother locked my bedroom door from the outside. The next 48 hours were a blur of cold dread. I had one option left: run. I waited until I was sure my parents were asleep, until my dad's restless pacing finally stopped. I had a small bag packed, some cash, a change of clothes, a half-eaten chocolate bar. I pried the lock on my window open with a coat hanger, the metal scraping in the dead quiet of the house. The cold air hit my face, smelling of snow and pine. For a second, it felt like freedom. I dropped into the soft snowdrift below and I ran. Not toward the road. I knew they'd be watching it. I headed for the woods, for the old logging trails that snaked up the mountainside. The snow was up to my knees in places, but I was running on pure adrenaline. I just had to get over the ridge. Once I was out of the valley, I'd be out of their reach. I ran for what felt like hours, the moon casting long skeletal shadows from the trees. Every snap of a twig sounded like footsteps behind me. I finally reached a rise that overlooked the main road out of the valley, and my heart sank. Down below was a barricade. A real honest-to-God barricade with flashing lights and a couple of pickup trucks parked across the road. The Solitude Protocol. I'd only ever heard about it in whispers. When an offering's chosen, the town goes into a quiet lockdown. All roads are sealed. No one gets in, and more importantly, no one gets out. They couldn't risk their sacrifice getting away. The prosperity of Havenwood Falls for the next 12 years depended on me being there for my appointment. I slumped down in the snow, completely defeated. The adrenaline was gone, replaced by an icy, heavy despair. They had thought of everything. The system wasn't just a list of points, it was a cage. A beautifully decorated, community-approved cage, but a cage all the same. There was no way out. I was trapped. I looked back towards the twinkling Christmas lights of the town below. From up here, it looked so peaceful, so perfect. A postcard. But I could feel its teeth. I turned and began the long, slow walk back home. Back to my locked room. There was nowhere else to go. My return wasn't met with anger, just a quiet, somber acceptance. My mother unlocked my door and left a tray of food on the floor without a word. They knew I'd tried, and they knew I'd failed. Now, we just had to wait. And as the hours ticked down, things started to get strange. It began with the smell, a faint scent of pine, but not the clean, festive kind. This was deeper, resinous, with an undercurrent of something metallic and vaguely sweet, like old blood. It would come and go, so faint I thought I was imagining it. Then came the scratching. The first time I heard it, I figured it was a branch scraping against the house, a soft, rhythmic sound. Scrape, scrape, scrape. But it was coming from my window, the same one I'd escaped from. Heart hammering, I crept closer and peered through a gap in the curtains. Nothing, just the smooth, untouched snow on the roof outside. But as I watched, a long, thin line appeared in the frost on the glass, like an invisible finger was drawing on it. A claw mark. My nights became a waking nightmare. I'd jolt awake in the dark, convinced someone was in the room with me. I'd see a shape in the corner, a tall, stretched-out shadow that seemed to twist in the moonlight, only to vanish when I blinked. I started having these feverish dreams of a forest of bleeding Christmas trees, with mangled bodies hanging from the branches like grotesque ornaments. And in the dream, I could hear a sound like wind chimes, but it was the clicking of long, dagger-like claws. I tried to tell my parents. "Something is coming for me," I whispered to my mum through the locked door. "I can hear it." She just shushed me gently. "It's just your nerves, honey. It will all be over soon." Over soon. She said it like a comfort, but it felt like a threat. Was this part of the ritual? The psychological torment before the end? Was Nysorius tasting my fear, savouring it before the main course? Or was I just going insane? The line between the two grew blurrier with every hour. The night before Christmas Eve, I stayed awake all night, huddled in the corner of my room, watching as more and more claw marks appeared on my window, etching a terrible pattern into the glass. The smell of pine and blood was so strong now it made my eyes water. It wasn't in my head. It was real. And it was waiting. On Christmas Eve, the sky was a bruised purple, heavy with snow that wouldn't fall. They came for me at dusk. My father unlocked my door. He was in his Sunday best, his face grim. My mother stood behind him, holding a simple white tunic. Her fingers trembled as she helped me change, and she couldn't meet my eyes. There was nothing left to say. They led me outside. The entire town was there, lining the streets, holding candles. Their faces lit by the flickering flames held no anger, no malice, just a profound, collective sorrow and a grim sense of duty. They were all there to bear witness, to see the price of their peace being paid. They walked me to the town square. It was all decorated, the giant Christmas tree glittering with lights that felt like a mockery. At the base of the tree was the altar, a flat, black slab of rock that looked ancient. It was bare except for the names carved into its side and the fresh claw marks gouged into its surface. Marks that hadn't been there yesterday. The mayor stood beside it, looking solemn and important. He gave a speech about tradition, sacrifice, and the great renewal that would grant them another 12 years of prosperity. He spoke of the brave souls who had been chosen, and had the audacity to look at me with something like pity. I just stared back, my gaze locked on Gavin, who was standing beside him, looking smug and safe in his expensive coat. As the mayor's speech ended, the town clock began to strike midnight. With each chime, The air grew colder. The candle flames danced wildly. A hush fell over the crowd, a collective intake of breath. On the 12th stroke, a silence descended. So total, it felt like the world had gone deaf. And then, it appeared. It didn't walk from the woods. It just coalesced from the shadows behind the altar. It was tall, 10 feet at least, a humanoid silhouette of pure darkness. Its limbs were long and spindly, moving with an unnatural grace. Its eyes glowed like dying embers, and its hands ended in claws, long obsidian daggers that seemed to slice the air itself. The smell of pine and spilled blood became overwhelming. This was it. Nosorius. Santa Claus had come to town. It moved toward the altar, silent and fluid, its glowing eyes fixed only on me. This was it, the end, but as it raised a clawed hand, a desperate final surge of defiance shot through me. "Wait!" I screamed, my voice raw. The creature actually paused. It tilted its head, a gesture of mild curiosity. The mayor shot me a furious look. "Be silent. Do not disrespect the renewal." "The claws of truth," I yelled, my voice shaking but clear in the frozen air. "The system is built on truth. My place here is based on a lie." I pointed a trembling finger at Gavin. He framed me. He blackmailed me and lied to the Keeper and to his own father to save himself. He's the one who should be here. A murmur rippled through the crowd. The mayor's face turned purple with rage. Lies. The ravings of a desperate coward. Gavin just laughed, a short, ugly sound. "Prove it, Alex. It's your word against mine." He was right. I had no proof. It was over. But then, Nosorius moved. It wasn't looking at me anymore. Its head was swiveled, its burning eyes fixed directly on Gavin. The creature took a slow step towards him, away from the altar. It didn't need a picture. It didn't need a recording. It was ancient. It could smell the lie like a foul stench. Gavin's laughter died in his throat. His face went white. No, it was him. He's the one. The demon let out a low sound, like grinding stones. It was amused. It raised one claw and pointed it at Gavin. Then, slowly, it turned its other hand and pointed a claw at me. The mayor screamed, "No! You can only take one. That is the pact." Nosorius tilted its head again. It seemed to consider this. Then it looked out at the crowd, at the mayor, at the whole rotten town, and it gave a slow, deliberate shake of its head. The pact was with it, not them. It made the rules. It lunged. Not at one of us, but at both. A clawed hand wrapped around Gavin's chest, the other around mine. The cold was absolute, a void sucking the heat from my body. I saw Gavin's face, inches from mine, his eyes wide with shock. Then the world dissolved into shadow, and the smell of pine and blood, and a pain that wasn't of the body, but of the soul. My last thought was that the town had broken its own rules, and Nosorius was revising the terms of their agreement. It wasn't just taking the offering anymore. It was taking the lie too. There is no more Alex. There is no more Gavin. There is only we. We are a whisper in the cold, a memory in the shadow. Our consciousness has been shredded and woven into the being of Nosorius. We can feel the souls of all the others. The offerings from centuries past, swirling around us in a silent, eternal storm. We can see through its eyes. We see Havenwood Falls, the people frozen in terror. They wanted a sacrifice. They got two, and they broke the pact. The 12-year cycle is over. The prosperity is forfeit. We can feel a new hunger in the entity we have become. A hunger for more than just one. Santa Claus is coming to town, and this time he's checking his list for everyone. Hi everyone, thanks for listening. That story was written by me. If you enjoyed it, hit subscribe, like, and maybe join the membership so you can say I was here before she got weirdly famous. Perks include cool emojis, member badges, early access to videos and more. Oh, and I've lowered the top tier price right down to its minimum just in case anyone fancies an upgrade. You get everything from the first tier, plus merch discounts, member-only videos, and also have a story written about you if you stay for 3 months. Which would be a pretty cool thing to tell your friends, right? Yes, it would. Don't lie. Speaking of merch, I have merch now, so check that out. A massive shout out to my members. Or rather, member, MarkMathern7322. If you're on a mobile or tablet, please consider hyping the video. It pushes it a tiny bit further out into the YouTube wild. If you really enjoyed it, I think I have that super thanks button down there somewhere. Even £1 helps me toward my goal of making this a full-time thing. Then I can just have one full-time thing instead of my day job and this full-time. I'm here a lot. Fun fact you didn't ask for but are getting anyway. In several old winter traditions, the gift giver and the punisher were the same figure. Naughty list, nice list, same hands. And the idea of Santa having claws actually goes way back to European folklore, where winter spirits were often described as part man, part beast. So, you can blame history for that one. Good night.